Welcome back to Chris Greenhill's Garage. I'm Chris, Big Chris, Senior Chris, whatever you want to say. Not with me right now is Chris Jr. He's going to join me throughout the video for the important parts, but he's got work. School is back in session now. I'm back to doing a lot of stuff solo. Oh, by the way, full disclosure, I've already done this job. I have not driven the car yet. I just put the car in the ground. I'm about to take it out for a drive. But let me tell you what I'm going to do. For those not familiar, this is the 1982 Ford Mustang GT that we've pretty much built from rolling scrap into the majestic machine you see before you today over the last two and a half years. We affectionately call it Project Piece of Stang, the POS. At least I call it that. Junior seems to hate it, but I'm the one paying for this, so I don't care. Amongst the problems, one of the main problems we're having with this car is the rear end. The Ford 8.8-inch rear end differential. When we got it, it always made a sound. It always whined and howled a little bit, but it was nothing too excessive, it didn't seem. I mean, when I did gears in the 90s on my cars when I was a teenager, they all howled, they all whined, just kind of par for the course. It definitely whined and sounded less when we had the interior in the car. The entire interior is gutted right now if you haven't been following along. So there's nothing in this car. Bare metal everywhere. So things are loud in here. However, in the last few months, the rear end has gotten noticeably louder and noticeably louder again. And then when I've put new exhaust on it and made the exhaust louder, the rear end has continued to get louder. It's continued to make some noise. In the last few months, this thing has been apart 3 times, counting this video. I've never really found much of a smoking gun until this video, and it's still not much of one. I've taken it apart a couple of times. I've never seen anything major. The gears look great. We've replaced the axle bearings. I've now replaced the shims, the pinion bearings. But it still makes sound. I've replaced both brake rotors, or brake drums, pardon me. I've checked the axles for straightness. I don't know what the sound is, but there's always been this whoop, 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 whoop. When it starts off and at slower speeds, kind of drive me crazy. Some kind of rotational vibration. Can't figure it out. But here lately, it's gotten to the point where the rear gears were really whining under acceleration, under speed. If you saw the last video, which nobody did, where we took the rear end apart, you'll know that we had one day to get it together. I ordered a shim kit for it. Then I couldn't find my micrometer, my magnet-based micrometer, to gauge the lash on the gears. Then the wrong shims arrived. They sent me pinion shims instead of rear axle carrier shims. We needed to be somewhere in a couple hours. I slopped the car back together, didn't measure anything, put it together, went to a car meetup. It whines and howls like crazy now, insanely loud. We did it all wrong. It's not the way to do it. So this time I decided to do things correctly. I got a new magnet-based dial indicator, micrometer thing. I ordered the proper shims. We got the rear end differential paint for painting in the gears to measure the gear lash. We shimmed it. It took 20 attempts. We did everything right. I showed Chris Jr. the proper way to do this. Now, let's go see if that hard work paid off. We're off to a great start today. Supposed to rebuild the 8.8-inch rear end in Junior's car, so I ordered a rebuild kit. This is the entire kit. This is it. It looks nice. They're nice bearings and all that, but this is all there is. There's nothing else. The bearings have clearly been opened before. They still look good. They're good quality bearings, but the problem is there are no shims. This is definitely advertised and pictured with coming with carrier shims as pictured here. but it did not. There are no other packages. There are no other parts to it. This is it. So I'm returning this, and I've ordered another one, but it'll be a few days till it gets here. A little bit of good news is I ordered a new dial indicator, and everything seems to work on it. As soon as my shims and all my parts get here, I'll be able to rebuild the rear end. It is many days later. Our stuff is finally here. These appear to be the correct size shims. If you watched our last video on rebuilding the 8.8, you realize that, we ordered these shims. These are supposed to be axle carrier shims, and this is what we got. The front one, not the back one. The back one is the size we needed. We got these front ones. We didn't really have a choice but to throw it back together, and the rear end now whines and squeals and makes a lot of noise because these are not the correct size shims. We took a chance, played the game, rolled the dice, and we lost. It occurred to me one night that what happened was we were accidentally given front pinion shims for the pinion, the gear pinion, instead of axle carrier shims. This kit comes with the correct size carrier axle shims. So hopefully I can get this thing apart now and get it rebuilt. I shouldn't have to say this, but jack your car up, secure it in the air, take your wheels off. It's 2025. I'm sure some idiot out there will get mad that I didn't specifically tell them to do this, but yes, jack up your car, secure it in the air, take the wheels off. And this is why a feeler gauge would probably come in handy when doing this. While they're howling, it sounds like they're way too tight. That is a ton of lash. 12 millimeter, 12 point wrench or socket, whatever you have. You can see where the differential's been leaking out the front seal. I've already run into a snag. I do not own an impact socket big enough to get the pinion nut off. I thought these were 3/4 or something, and I have up to 1 inch and 24 millimeters, and neither one of those will go on here. Seems like it's 1 1/16 or something. I've got to see if I've got anything around here that'll take it off. For clarification, this is the new one out of the kit, but it's the same size as the one that's still on the differential. Apparently this is 1 1/16 for reasons. I have a 1 and I have a 1 1/8. The 1 1/8 is so loose it's going to strip it, so I've got to go buy the proper socket. We're off to a great start. My local hardware store did not have an impact socket for what I need, so I'm hoping this Craftsman 1 1/16 regular socket will work. I decided to go ahead and drain the rear end before I take off that pinion nut. Let's just see what things look like in here. The brand new 20-mile rear end grease looks like brand new 20-mile rear end grease. Shocking. The leak must have been worse than I suspected, because there was not a whole lot of rear end grease left. Surprisingly enough, this has a lot more side-to-side play in it than I thought it would have. They sounded so tight, I thought they'd have no play at all. And when you hold the front pinion still, there is no lash in this whatsoever. Huh, weird. So there is no front and back lash, but there's a ton of side-to-side play. Good times. Our first signs of chaos. Somehow, some way, whatever that broken piece was, did not affect our carrier bearings, and it doesn't even appear to be the shims that I put in there, the wrong shims. Look, these are these actually survived somehow. These are all intact. The only thing I can figure is whatever that metal piece was, it must have come off the pinion. Maybe it's a pinion shim, I'm not sure. Let's go see. Before I even get to that, I've already noticed there is a bit of drag on this, right in the middle. Like just half the turn is difficult. So I'm expecting something to be wrong up here. Well, I have discovered that this is pretty out of round. Let's see if I can get a camera angle where you can see it. Yeah, that isn't good. Now I need to get this out of here, figure out what that is. After beating on this thing entirely way too long with a regular hammer, pro tip, put the old pinion nut on there and hit it with a regular hammer to get the pinion out. That is, of course, if you have a new pinion nut to use, go ahead and sacrifice the old one. I happen to have a new one, so I'm hitting the old one and it's finally moving after about an hour of hitting it with a dead blow hammer. It's really lodged in there. Everything on the pinion bearing look okay. Let's look in here. Everything looks good up there. The race looks okay. So I'm not sure what's going on with this thing, why it's making so much damn noise. I can't videotape a whole lot of this disassembly because it's just me today, but I admit I had to go take a mid-job break. I had to walk away and cool off for a while and relax. I could not get this front seal off. I was going insane. I could not get this thing to separate. And I was losing my cool. So I had to walk away and come back. But I finally got it off. The bearing came off. The bearing actually looks good. Luckily we have another one of these bearings. But it looks okay. Wasn't in bad shape. So I don't think that's what was making the noise either. I just realized there was no oil slinger ring in my front seal or my front bearing, my pinion bearing. And there should have been, right? There should have been. Am I imagining that? Is that headcanon? Am I making that up? There should have been a ring on the front of this pinion ring, right? Or is that not a 8.8? Oh man, now I'm all confused. Wait a minute, was the oil slinger ring the piece that I pulled out when I started this job? Is that what that was? Was that the leftover oil slinger ring? I don't see it, I can't find it right now, but that would explain a lot of the noise. Oh, more metal shavings right in front of the front bearing. Is that the oil slinger ring? I can't tell. I don't know. Oh, quite a bit of debris in here. Huh, but the race is fine. The bearing races are fine. I'm not so sure what this is I'm pulling out of here, but there's flakes of metal all in here. Interesting. Before I carry on, I want to make sure the new bushings, the new shims, are the right size. If you'll remember last time, this is the shim that came in the last kit I ordered. Yeah, that's a kind of a problem. That is incorrect. But we were in a hurry and had to slap it together at the last second. And surprisingly enough, none of those undersized shims are chewed up at all. Here are the new shims. The proper shims. So, alright. At least I've got the right shims now, and now I can consider starting the process of putting this thing back together. More metal strips out of the front pinion housing. I just keep finding more and more, thinking that might have been the oil slinger. or some type of shim they tried to use. I don't even know, but I keep finding new pieces. I'm confident I have this all cleaned out now. I don't think there's any more metal in here. I do not know what on earth this used to be. It almost looks like a really, really thin shim. Oh yeah, there should have been a shim on the pinion, right? Oh, there is a shim under it, it looks like. Okay, well, I don't know. I don't even know what this metal is I'm finding, where it came from, what it's supposed to be. Confusing. No need to lie. I'm going to go watch the video of somebody smarter than me about reassembling this thing, because I could have sworn there was a oil slinger ring in the front of this thing, and I could have sworn that there's supposed to be a shim on the front pinion bearing, or in both pinion bearings, but there's not. So I guess I'm going to go educate myself. It's been a very long time since I've done this, so I'm going to go watch the video of much smarter people than me. I think I'm actually just going to call it a day today. It's been a frustrating few hours, but everything is apart, everything is cleaned up, everything is ready for reassembly. I just don't really have it in me today. I want to go cool off and relax and enjoy my only day off this week. And I'll come back next week and put this back together. It is 5 days later. Got some updates, and there have been a few snags along the way. So I was right. There was supposed to be an oil slinger ring in the front of this thing, and I'm pretty sure that's what I pulled out in pieces. Unfortunately, my rebuild kit did not come with one for reasons, and there wasn't one available, so I had to order one online. It took a couple of days to get here. Also, I do not have an inch-pound torque wrench to set the drag on the pinion. I still don't have one. By the time I realized I needed one, I looked for one locally, and they were hundreds of dollars. I was not paying that, and there wasn't one I could get delivered in time to get this done. So we're just going to skip that step and use the finger torque wrench, which has worked so well in the past. Another disappointment with this kit is I did not get a new one of these seals on not the yoke, but the thing, the splines that goes over the pinion, the front pinion. I guess it is a yoke, but did not get a new one of these seals, so I've got to reuse the old one. So frustrating. People smarter than me say you should put oil resistant black silicone inside the front pinion, so I'm going to do that. I never did that in the past, but I'm going to do it now. Bearing and oil slinger ring are in place. Now we're going to put on the nut, try to adjust it. I almost forgot the front seal, but I did manage to get it in there. You do not need a seal driver, just some patience. Hold it on one side, hammer it around with a dead blow hammer around the rest of it. It will go on. It's just frustrating. Push those gears back, buddy. Forgot to mention earlier, look who's finally here. Hey Junior, how's it going? That's good. I was able to get the front yoke attachment on about 75% of the way just by tapping it with a dead blow hammer around the outside. Then what I did is I took the old nut, and I tightened down everything about 95% of the way, and set that crush sleeve. Now I've got the new nut on there. I'm gonna set the crush sleeve the rest of the way and do final tightening on it. So I've set the pinion nut. I brought it down most of the way with the torque wrench, and then used a hand wrench and tightened it down. I still have quite a bit of forward and back play in this thing, but I can't get it set any tighter than that. Even with a pry bar, it just doesn't feel like that crush sleeve is set all the way. There's not anything else I can do to this thing. We had to take this thing back apart. That crush sleeve has not crushed or deformed at all. We've tried everything. We've tried hand wrenches, torque wrenches, pry bars, impact wrench. Nothing has crushed down that crush sleeve. The old one, you can tell, is properly crushed into shape and deformed and has tightened onto the pinion. This one is not. This one hasn't changed at all. It looks like it is right out of the package. Here's the difference in the crush sleeves. This one on the left is the one that has properly been warped and crushed into place, and it fits on the pinion tight and snug and properly. We cannot get this new one to seat at all. We've got way too much forward and back play. I got suspicious, took it apart, and this is what I found. So we got to find some way to get this to seat. Using the old nut and the old crush sleeve, I've reassembled it, and it feels perfectly normal. It is seated properly. There is no movement at all, front or back, laterally, nothing. And it feels perfectly smooth using the old nut and the old crush sleeve. So we're definitely not getting that crush sleeve seated properly. I'm just not sure what to do about it. We're kind of at an impasse right now because I can't put the old one back in it. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I have not figured out what I'm going to do about that crush sleeve on the pinion, but while the pinion is together with the old crush sleeve and feels good and normal, I am going to go ahead and we're going to try to set the shim on the carrier and get the depth and everything on it right. Try to figure out how many shims we need on each side. I just did a demonstration of gear lash for Junior with our dial indicator. Of course, these are not shimmed. As you can see, it's just sitting in here, so obviously this is all over the place, but we're going to start shimming it now. Our micrometer is still missing. I had some good starting points figured out. People online seem to agree that between 0.25 and 0.29 is a good starting point for shims on each side, and then you dial it in from there. Well, we don't have our micrometer, so we're going to shove a few shims on each side, measure it, and then go from there. We have our gear marking compound front and back on the teeth. We're only going to do 5 to start. They gave us a very, very tiny little tube of this stuff, and we may have to do this 5 or 6 or 50 times, so I'm trying to use it sparingly. I just noticed on this shim kit, they've got two, I don't know what you call them, guide shims. They have 2 shims, one for each side, that has these guide rings on them, so you can stack shims on them and it'll hold them into place. And we have 2 of those. So that's going to be a good starting point. They probably only hold, I don't know, a couple of thousandths or a couple of hundredths of shims each. So we're just going to start by filling up those guides and do that on each side and then measure it and see how that looks, and then we'll add or subtract from there. Obviously nowhere near enough, not even close, but we'll add from there. I was going to throw one of these medium shims in each side, but I threw the one on the left side and things tightened up pretty well. So we're going to torque this down and check the lash on that, dial it in from there. That seems pretty good. Nope, too tight. There is absolutely no lash in there at all, and I can't even spin them. So that's a problem. So I took that medium shim out of the left, put it in the right, and now it's way too loose. I mean, it is better, I can move it, but it's way too loose. We're going to check the wear pattern of the teeth real quick just to see what this looks like. Turned it over a couple times by hand. You can barely see there's an ever so slight wear pattern right here on the very end of the teeth, which indicates, as we knew, this is too loose. So we're going to put a couple of small shims on this side and try it again. I ended up putting one of the thinnest shims on each side to take out a little bit of space. And this is much better than it was. However, we're not really getting much of a pattern on the paste on the teeth on either side, the drive side or the cruise side. I'm not sure what to think of that. I might try to put some new paste on here, a little thicker, but I'm not getting the pattern I want. This is the old pattern on the toe of the gear, but I'm not seeing any pattern moving inside the gear very much. I'm not sure what to think of that. Maybe that's some wear right there in the middle. If that is it, that's what we want, but I guess I'll reapply the paste and see again. Hand me some fresh paste on a couple of teeth, and we're gonna turn it again and see what happens. Turned around both directions. It still looks like it is towards the toe of the teeth. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and check lash and see what this is. We are right on the ragged edge. That is what, 11? I think that says 11. We're looking to 8 to 12 thousandths. That's hitting right at 12. So we are right on the ragged edge of 2 loose. I might try a micro shim on the other side. The finger caliper says this feels pretty good. Let's see what the dial caliper says. Finger caliper was a little bit off. Just a little bit. Another shim on the left side, and that feels as bad or worse. Let's see what the micrometer says. We're back down to 15, so it is better. 14 to 15. I'm going to try taking one of the micro shims out of this side, putting on that side. Hopefully we'll be done. Somehow we managed to get looser. We're going 17 now. All right. Time to pull one of the micro shims out of this side and put one of the slightly thicker ones in. Alright, my finger caliper says this is way too tight, but check out the gauge. 10, 10 and a half. So it took a micro shim out of the right, put it in the left, and on about our 10th try, we've got 10 to 11. And we are finally there, I think. What do you think, boy?
I think that we were at 11 about 20 minutes ago and then said we can make it better, failed 5 times, and then came back to 11.
Yeah, so are you new here?
No.
Were you surprised by this?
No.
Are you learning?
Yeah.
Cool.
Not to trust you.
Shut up, boy. You can trust me. I know what I'm doing exactly, obviously. Super bizarre. So earlier we were just running things down really tight. We hadn't torqued it down. Now the cap bolts are torqued to 100 foot-pounds. And now we've got like 13 to 14. You've got to be kidding me. What on earth? I think we have it set. Sitting right at 10. Exactly where we need it. Finally. Oh my God. Torque down to 100 foot-pounds. Alright, so that should be the shim set that we need. We at least have our shim measurement. Here is the wear pattern on our teeth. It's a much more reasonable amount in the middle. It's much better than it was. You can see that down in there. That's just paint smear up here. These are the teeth we painted down here. And you can see the wear pattern has moved towards the middle quite a bit more. So that should be what we need right there. That should be the final shim set right there. Boy, are you starting to see why I never do anything the right way? You see how long this takes to do it the right way?
Yeah.
It's so much more fun just bolt stuff together and just send it till you bend it, isn't it? Anyway, this is how you set a rear end the proper way. I don't recommend it. Just slap it together and deal with it until it explodes. This sort of brings us to an impasse. We are kind of stuck because while I believe I've got the shims that we need, the rear end feels amazing. It feels a lot better than it did last time. I still don't know how I'm going to set that new crush sleeve. And I definitely don't want to reassemble it with the old crush sleeve, you know, the wrong way. But I'm not really sure what to do. I'm going to have to think about this and come up with something. So I think we're kind of done for now. We can't do final assembly and fill it up with grease and go drive it. At least not for a while. All right, I ran the gears through a couple more times, and it looks like both the drive side and the cruise side are now showing a nice even wear pattern right in the middle, which is what we want to see. So I am confident we've got our shims set correctly. We painted more teeth, and both sides, the drive side and the cruise side, are showing a pattern in the middle. Let me know in the comments if you disagree. That looks like a pretty even pattern. As you can see, the toe has got paint still on it. The heel has still got paint on it. The middle is what's rubbed off. And that seems like it right where it needs to be. I don't know if I'm paranoid or what, but everywhere I go to spin this rear end, it feels like there's way too much drag on it. It feels like it's way too tight. Whether I try to spin it by the front yoke or turn it by the gears themselves, or whether I come out here and turn it with the axle in it, just feels like a ton of drag. Way more than it should. But the lash and the paint pattern say it's correct. I guess I'm just being paranoid. Everything about this sure does feel tighter than it did last time. Much tighter tolerances than the last time we put this together. And it was howling like crazy last time from being overly tight. Maybe I'm just being really, really paranoid. While we're here messing with the rear end, we're going to fix this shock in the back passenger side. We were missing one of these washers, so this rubber bushing was, we're missing this bottom one. This rubber bushing was sliding down over the body of the shock, creating tension, and the shock was bouncing up and down in the brace, clicking and clacking. So we are correcting that while we're here, completely unrelated to the differential. It's a few days later. A couple of things. Chris can't be here today, at least not right now, probably not at all today. Also, I was unable to source an inch-pound torque wrench at all. Couldn't even get one delivered today. Auto parts store could get one in 2 days. A couple other places could get one tomorrow, but that doesn't do me any good today. So, still don't have one of those. And lastly, talked to a very good friend of mine who's very experienced in rebuilding these rear ends. He did it professionally for years, rebuilt hundreds of them. He told me if the old crust sleeve was in good shape, just to reuse it, put it back in, put it together, send it. So I've already done that. So I get to skip all of that. He said the only way I was going to get that thing set was to put it up on a car lift with a giant pry bar. And I don't have a way to do it. He said if the old one's good, he never replaced the crush ring unless it was damaged. Mine does not appear to be damaged. It's time to get back to this. Junior saw the most important part, how to shim and measure the rear end. He helped me put it together a couple of times, so he got to experience all that. Now I'm going to try to button this thing up and test drive it. Because I'm extremely paranoid, I came back out here today and rechecked everything, rechecked the lash, and retorqued the main caps. Nothing had changed, of course, but just double checking my work. I also came out and checked out the U-joints. They use a little oil. I've got to find my oil gun. But overall, they're really good. No slop in them. I was a little bit worried that that might be some of my sound. I am a little concerned, though, that maybe my drive shaft is just out of balance. Someone has clearly balanced it in the past, and it wasn't us. But it's got a dent in it. You never know. This might be some of our problem, but at least the U-joints are solid. Once again, I sure hope I'm just being paranoid, because I swear this is tighter than it was before. And it was howling before, it was so tight. But everything, every part of this, even everything except the pinion. The pinion felt normal spinning it on its own. But everything else just feels tight. And the whole thing was, it was so tight, it was howling before. So I'm not sure what the result is going to be this time. Hopefully I'm just paranoid, but it is all back together. The C-clips are in, the retaining pin is in, the retaining bolt is in. It's time to put the cover on and fill it up with fluid and see what happens. Drive shaft bolts are back in, a little bit of Loctite in the threads. I come back here and put a little bit of gasket seal in the threads that stick out the back, just to encourage them not to back out. And now that I'm looking closer at this drive shaft, I'm definitely going to be looking for a new drive shaft, or to find a place where I can get this balanced, because I'm highly suspecting this might be part of our rotational sound and vibration back here. Not all of it, obviously, but some of it. So if that's a problem going forward, I'll be looking for a new drive shaft here soon, or to get this one fixed. I've encountered a problem that could be several of our issues, possibly. So the other brake drum, the driver's side brake drum, popped right on, everything felt fine. I put this one on. This one is extremely tight going on, and now I can't even really turn the rear end by hand. That's not good. The parking brake's not on. The car is not in gear. So I'm not sure what's going on back here. I got to get this back apart, check out this brake. I wonder if that's part of our sound back here. I don't remember having difficulty getting this off, but I definitely can't turn it now. And it seems to be all this drum. It was pretty tight going on. Now it is insanely tight coming off. I've been trying for a while. You can see that's as far as I've made it. Huh. These are so tight. These were black a minute ago. Scraping off the rust from the inside of the drums. They're so tight. Look at that. Every millimeter of the brake pad coated in rust. So I've got to try to loosen these things up. See if I can get that. Without them, I mean, the rear end is tight, but without them I can spin it fine. With the brake drum on, I can't move it at all. Getting there. Much better. And I can spin it. Although it is a little tight, I might try to loosen both sides just a little bit more. 1,000 times better. Full disclosure, it took me an embarrassingly long time to remember how to loosen these drum brakes. It's been a while since I messed with the drums. So long, in fact, I'm kind of wondering if that's going to jack with my parking brake. I don't remember. I think they're self-adjusting and will tighten themselves up. I hope so. For the first time in probably 30 years, I actually have a differential gasket. And I am still using gasket seal along with it on both sides. Black oil resistant gasket seal. Yeah, I know. It's one or the other. No, it's both. Just deal with it. That's what we're doing. I was just reminded why you never use a gasket unless you have a stud kit in place. No matter how careful I was, this thing floated all around, all over the place. So I'm going to try to put the bolts in through the back of the cover and try to put it on. But absolute disaster. This is why I've always just used the gasket seal. I have had enough. I'm tired of dealing with this. I had to clean out all the bolt holes of drying gasket seal. I've got to clean up both of these surfaces to try again. I managed to salvage the gasket in one piece, sort of. But I'm going to go down to the hardware store and get all thread and make studs. All thread and nuts. And I'm going to come make little studs and cut them up and put them back on. And I am tired of dealing with this insanity. Parts store running the air conditioning. Man could get used to this. No, don't say that. Don't say that. You're getting soft, old man. Stop it. Stop it. No. Put the top down and the windows down like a man. I'm back finally. It took more than an hour, longer than it should have. The parts store couldn't find my friction modifier for the rear end. hardware store couldn't find my all thread. It was frustrating, but time to get started on this. I wasn't even thinking. The reason that they are Allen-headed screws is because you can't get a wrench on it. Oh man, this day just keeps getting worse. Alright, ditch the stud idea, and I'm also ditching the gasket. I just cleaned up these two surfaces. I'm just going straight gasket seal. Try to get this over with sometime today. It's not really the money that's frustrating. It wasn't expensive. It's the time I wasted trying to fix a design flaw and do this correctly. Anywhere there's a gasket, there should be studs to hold it. But that's what I get for trying to better something. It's all back together. I've got a good 360-degree bead of caulk or silicone coming out all around. If this thing leaks, I'm going to cry, but it should be good to go. I set the girdle travel limiters, and I'm ready to fill this thing up and be done. Alrighty, let's get this thing filled up. I don't remember how much it takes, but I've got a gallon. Okay, we're all back together and filled up. Mostly. I mean, I did manage to spill about 10% over here, despite my poor tube and funnel. But I got about 90% of that gallon in there, and it took it all. And that's all I have, so we're going to call that full and see what happens. I'm going over my mental checklist 100 times before I put it on the ground. No matter how many times I go through it, I'm always sure I've forgotten something, but it is time to get this over with. With the wheels on, it feels normal now. Rolls pretty smoothly. Get a little oil moving around in there. I'm guessing it was just that rear brake that was snagging, but this feels about right. Letting it spin for a minute and circulate some oil in the differential while it's still in the air before I drive it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to hear anything over the exhaust, but so far I don't hear any grinding or anything crazy. Turn it over, do the same thing, then I'm going to put it on the ground. Transmission is protesting a little bit in reverse, but the rear end seems fine. All the noise is coming from up front. Oh yeah, that's all transmission so far. Man, this thing is fat. All it's done is sit in the driveway and idle occasionally. In fact, it's been 2 months today since it's really gone anywhere. It's been 4 and 5 miles 3 or 4 times, probably less than 20 miles in the last 2 months. I guess it's time to go see how this is going to work. I had hoped to wait for Chris Jr., but I want to get this over with. I'm tired. It's either going to work or it's not. I'm either going to be happy or I'm not. And I want to get this over with. I'm not sure when he's going to be home. So let's go do this. Only going 40 miles per hour so far, but I'm going to be honest, it sounds a lot the same so far. It's not what I wanted to hear. Chamber and those larger tailpipes are so loud, it sort of drowns it out. But I think you can still hear that. It's not as loud. We're going 60 and it's not as loud, but I can still hear them whining a little. I take it back, that's a lot quieter. Light throttle, we got a little bit of a whine, but overall, that is definitely much quieter. We fixed the clicking and the clacking on that rear shock. It's quiet. The rear end is a lot quieter. now that I've given it a few miles. And now, of course, I have some kind of new rattling sound up front. You just can't win on these old cars, man. I'm coming to my first stop. And the rear is definitely whining a little on deceleration now. Not as bad on acceleration, not as much on cruise, but decelerating, we got a little whine. That's weird, because I really made sure the cruise on both sides of the gears had an even wear pattern. Oh well. My phone overheated. Not sure why they sell these things in Texas if they can't handle 110 to 115 degrees, but this was some of my rear end rattle that was floating around in the trunk, bouncing on a bunch of tools and a bunch of nonsense. That was some of it, but I definitely have some rear end rattle going on. Still whining a little bit. Let's see if it's leaking. There are a couple of drops on the ground. However, I did spill quite a bit, so I'm gonna have to dry it off a little more to see if that's just dripping off the top, dripping off the housing, or dripping from inside. Gave it a little bit of gas. It took 10 gallons and 60 miles. But there's probably also 6 hours of idle time in the driveway on top of those 60 miles. Anyway, technically we're averaging 6 miles to the gallon. I like it. I have to record very sparingly because of the heat. The phone is overheating very quickly. At times it's quieter, and at times it sounds very similar. It's really hard to judge. Better under acceleration now. It whines more cruising. I don't know. That may or may not have been more than the speedometer shows. Never know in Mexico, but I mean, they sound fine under acceleration. They didn't explode. They weren't actually making any weird noise up to all through the top of third gear and the fourth gear. Definitely have a grinding in the transmission now. Definitely not the rear end. Definitely a new sound in the transmission. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but that's not good. I know the rear still leaks a little, and it's been a couple of months. The transmission might be a little bit low on fluid. I'll have to look into that here soon and hope that's what fixes it. We definitely have a rotational vibration still at low speeds, coming from the rear end. I'm hoping that's going to be the drive shaft or something. Let's see if you can hear that when I'm parked here. Yeah, something in the transmission of the clutch is rattling. Good times. Awesome. I'm back. You know what? The thing's on the road. It's driving straight. It's not making more noise than it was. It is quieter than it was. It's still making noise. I don't know why. I don't know. At this point, I'm just going to do what I always joke about. I'm going to send it till I bend it. I'm just going to put it on the road and drive it every day until it explodes. And when it explodes, I'll find a new one or rebuild it. I want my car back. I want to drive this thing. I want to have fun with it again. Once it gets over a couple of miles per hour, that little wobble goes away and it smooths out. It seems to be fine. Don't know. I'm at a point where, you know what, I don't necessarily trust my workmanship. I never do. No one should. But I'm going to trust the paint, the gear paint. I'm going to trust the micrometers and the shims and everything that says everything's fine. And I'm going to trust the new bearings and hope for the best. So that's where I'm at. Thank you for watching this nightmare on behalf of Chris Jr. and I. We really appreciate it. All like 4 of you. Means a lot to us. But so school is back in session now, which means I'm going to be solo a lot more. Chris and I are only going to have 2 days off every 2 weeks, every other weekend. But he's got a job. I've got multiple jobs. We're going to try to get working on his red convertible at least every other weekend and get it ready for daily driver duty. So that's what we've got coming up. There's some new issues with it we've got to get worked out, and hopefully you'll see that here soon, but definitely not every week now that school's back in session. Maybe every 2 weeks, maybe less often, who knows. This summer was great. We got to work on cars at least every week. As much as a pain as it was, it has been fun, but that has come to an end for a while. So thank you for watching, and God bless.